before. Couldn't lock you in the
Hi everyone, I'm Pilisa. I have Sambe over here. Hi Sambe,
Hello,
how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Sambe Flatela. I'm a master's in clinical psychology student at the Nelson Mandela University. Today I'm so excited to be sharing about a psychological perspective on fear.
It's so great to have you here today, Sambe. I have got a few questions for you. The first question goes as, how would you define fear from a psychological perspective?
Okay, so when I'm defining fear, I'm going to use two theories. The one theory is the learning theory, and the other one is the existential approach theory. So the learning theory talks about that you learn fear. So you learn to be fearful, maybe from being exposed to it or seeing someone else's response. And then the existential approach is that we just have an innate, it's natural to be fearful, so we just have it in us to be fearful. So we don't have to think about it, or we don't have to learn about it. Maybe they talk about the fear of death, you know that it's coming, so that's what they talk about.
Okay, and then now, how is it different from phobia?
So a phobia, it's a fear, but it's out of proportion, so it's extreme. So it lasts more than 6 months, and yes, it lasts more than 6 months, and it can also affect your day-to-day life. So for example, if you are scared of crowded places, you won't go to the mall, you probably won't go to church because you're so scared. It's a phobia, you're so scared, you won't do that. So you will limit your social life. So that's what I mean when I say it affects your day-to-day life, yes.
Okay, and then now, if you can tell me what causes fear or what causes phobia?
Okay, so from a psychological perspective, there isn't like one answer for that.
Okay.
So they speak about trauma. So maybe if you've been maybe if you've experienced a traumatic event before, and then situations like that would cause you to have fear or phobia. And then also, let's say for example, you also learn things like, as I spoke about the learning theory before, so like early conditioning. So for example, if we take a needle, and it's a needle, we take a stimulus, and then we poke you with the needle, which is like an unconditional stimulus. So that causes you to be scared because of the tactile, so because you can feel it. So that's why we would become fearful. Also, you can learn it. For example, if you tell someone, I remember my grade 1 teacher telling me that garden snakes are dangerous. And I went home and I told my mom that garden snakes are dangerous. Throughout my childhood, I knew that garden snakes are dangerous. Not because I experienced it, but because my teacher told me that it was dangerous. Yes. So I was fearful, I was scared because of that. Also, negative information you get, that's what I was talking about, that you get negative information. Maybe in mostly cultural groups, or maybe close communities where they will say, this and this is not good, or this and this is, so it's negative information. You haven't really tested it out, but because your group says it's dangerous or you shouldn't do it, then you don't do it, and then you develop that fear or phobia based on that.
Oh wow, that's really interesting. I'm trying to think, we learn phobias, oh my goodness. Okay, so now, can you tell me how many types of phobias are there?
So they are grouped into 4. So there are 4 types of phobia. So it's animals. So that would be your snakes, your spiders. Natural environment is the second one. So that's an object or a situation. So maybe heights, or as I said before, crowded places. And then the other one is situational. So it's based on a situation. It's not general. And then the last one is blood injection or blood injury. So yeah, those are the 4 types of phobias we have.
Okay, thank you. I've heard about the cycle of anxiety. Where does it fit in this phobia and fear?
Okay, so usually when you have a phobia or you're extremely anxious or you're extremely scared, what happens is there's the anxiety, but the anxiety is triggered by something. So the
Yes,
anxiety will be triggered by your fear, or it would be triggered by your
The
phobia.
phobia.
And then once you have that anxiety, you try to avoid because it's uncomfortable.
Yes, yes.
So for example, you would, let's take the example I used earlier on, where you're scared of being in crowded places. So your avoidance, as I said before, you now don't go to church, you don't go to the mall, you don't go to the shop, or now you inconvenience yourself. So maybe you go to the shop when it just opens so that you don't get to face a lot of people.
Yes.
And then, so what that happens, it gives you a relief, but it's like a short-term relief. So you feel like, oh, okay, I can handle this. But what this thing does, it tricks your mind. Now you're thinking, oh, I can handle this anxiety or fear. But then after a while, if that situation comes back again, or you're in that position again, so the cycle continues. So then most probably you would, or not most probably, definitely you would then need to break the cycle and experience that discomfort so that you unlearn the fear. So fear can be unlearned. So yes. So you would have to put yourself in that situation, scale it, not too much. So for example, taking the example again, you go to the shop, but if you used to go at 7 o'clock, now you go at 7:30, and you stay for 5 minutes, and you see how you feel about that. And then as gradually expose yourself to that, and that would help you.
I see. Lastly, are there any important things that we need to remember or any highlights?
So the important things, as I said, fear cripples you.
Yes.
So you would, you don't live to your full potential because it's like you're carrying this heavy bag wherever you're going.
Yes.
So you don't live to your full potential, and it distorts reality. So for example, you might think that I'm scared of going to crowded places because I'm gonna faint, I'm gonna have a panic attack. But actually, you won't really do that. But because of your fear, your reality is distorted. So you're not realistic now. You're thinking, you exaggerate everything. What else can I think of? Then that facing your fear can actually really help you. So it's no use trying to avoid it, but actually have to face your fear. And as I said before, fear is learned, so fear can be unlearned as well. And I think lastly, one thing I would like to leave everyone with is to live in a world full of fear is not living, it's survival. And we want to live, we don't want to survive.
Sure. Wow. I'm amazed. I didn't know that I can also unlearn a phobia because I'm very scared of snakes. But anyway, is there any practical advice you can give the ladies here today, Sambe?
So I have a few questions that you will find in your devotional booklet. So you can think about it more when you go home. I'll just go through them now. So the activity will help you to become more aware of your fear or phobia. And you can do this on your own, or can you do it with someone else? But if you're not comfortable, you're free to do it on your own. And now you can just look at it, go through it, and then when you're at home and you have more time, you can think more about it and reflect more about it. So the first question is, list 2 things that trigger your anxiety. What makes you nervous or easy? Remember I said it starts with a trigger. It starts with something. Is it going to place it? What is that thing that triggers your anxiety or that makes you uneasy? Things that you could look out for, maybe you start sweating, or you start feeling like you're going to faint, those things. It can be physical, or it can be emotional, or it can be psychological. And then the second question is, can you think back to an event that created this fear? Remember my example, my teacher told me that garden snakes were dangerous, and that's when I started to become scared of garden snakes. And then the third one is there something in your life you really want to do, or certain passion or dream you have but aren't doing so because you're scared? What are you actually scared of? So what is holding you back? Maybe that could give you an idea of your fear or phobia. And then, does uncertainty and not knowing scare you, or make you feel uncomfortable. I think a lot of people that like to have a sense of control
Yes.
would struggle with this, where they feel like if they don't know anything, they feel uncomfortable and they start
Yes.
becoming anxious. And then the last one is based on the 4 questions that I asked before. What do you think you are afraid of? So this is you trying to figure out what you're really scared of.
Yes.
And then one important thing that you would have to ask when you find yourself in a fearful situation or when you're reflecting is, are you afraid of the process or are you afraid of the result? So are you afraid of going through it or are you afraid of the end result?
Yes.
So you can ask those questions and think one last thing that would help. It's, I think, more than the psychological perspective or going to a counselor or something like that. Prayer is very important. So go back to God, share, tell God what your fears are.
Yes.
And maybe you can also go to your counselor at church or somewhere else or close friend and talk about your fear or phobia.
Sure, that was very informative once again. Thank you so much, Sambe. I trust that you ladies have learnt a few things. May you enjoy the rest of your